is where you're at, but today I'm going to be talking about QuickBooks. And so basically there are two QuickBooks products. There's the QuickBooks desktop product and the QuickBooks online product. The QuickBooks desktop product is the one that I really like the best, and I think it's the easiest one to teach and for people to understand. So right now we are looking at the home page for QuickBooks desktop. If anyone has any questions, feel free. I believe there's a way that you can post a question and answer me. If anybody wants to just say, hey, that would be welcome too, just so I know that you're out there. I see that we do have about 11 people in the class, so that's a good number of people. So, but I will get started here on QuickBooks Desktop. So QuickBooks Desktop is basically broken down into 5 sections. You got your vendors. Those are the people that you pay. You have your customers. Those are the people that pay you. And then you have an employee section if you've turned payroll on and have paid for a 1-year subscription of payroll. It looks like it's built into QuickBooks Desktop, but it's an extra cost. You have to have a payroll license to be able to run QuickBooks payroll inside of QuickBooks. The other 2 sections are the company section, which the chart of accounts and the items and services. Those are the main things that drive QuickBooks. So, and then you have your banking section. So those are 5 areas on your home page that you can look at, and anytime you get confused, you can just jump back to your home page and you can kind of get your bearings. Now this is a lot different than QuickBooks Online. I was going to show you what QuickBooks Online looks like. And so this is the home page for QuickBooks Online. So it's totally different, and you kind of got to know where you want to go in it. So I'm going to just tell you a little bit about QuickBooks Desktop, and then I'll jump back over into QuickBooks Online and show you where those same kind of things are located. Okay, so on QuickBooks Desktop, it's very simple. If you are selling something to somebody, you're probably going to create invoices. And then if you've created an invoice, then you're waiting for them to send you payment, and then you would click on receive payment. Now in QuickBooks, you can sell things by using invoices or using sales receipts. If you're going to use sales receipts, it's just a little bit different than invoices, is that on a sales receipt, you got paid instantly. So you tell how you got paid instantly. I got paid by cash, or I got paid by check. So that is the difference between using sales receipts and using invoices. So if you do invoices, that means you're going to get paid later. So that's why there is the button to receive the payment. So let me just show you an invoice. I'm in a sample company right now. Let me just go back one screen, and I should see some sample sales here. So this is where they're just selling some design work. They sold 2 of them at $55 a pop, and so it's a $110 invoice. You can even see right here that this invoice has been paid. So that means that at some point they created an invoice, and then somebody sent in a check, and so they clicked on receive payment. And if you put in the person's name here, I don't think, yep, we'll look at that, Adam's Candy Shop. So they have an invoice that's outstanding here for $40. So if they sent their money in, you could say, well, here's $40, and they will just go with these dates. This is a sample company, so these dates are way off. But I'm going to say it's a check, and it's check number 789, and it's hooked to that invoice. Now, if they couldn't pay the full amount of $40, maybe they were just making a small payment, I could say, well, they're going to send $20. And you'll notice here that it'll show there was a payment of $20 when they really owed you $40. And so they will show you a underpayment of $20. So this works beautifully, but I'm going to go right now and change this back to 40. It's over here 40. So when I hit save and close, it goes to an area in QuickBooks called undeposited funds, and it's also sitting in an area when you click record deposits, it shows you all the payments that you've received. And so this is that Adams Candy Shop that we had received right there. So this is a great feature that it goes into this area called undeposited funds, which basically means it's sitting on your desk. It's there at your office. And so then you can grab those deposits and take them to the bank in a group, or if you're mobile deposit them, you would want to grab them one at a time. But let's say I just grabbed one of them one at a time, or maybe I grabbed several checks. I've got a couple checks out here. Here's another check. So that would be me doing a deposit of $80 if I grab both of them. But I'm just going to grab the one. And when I hit OK, it's going to move to the screen that is behind this one, which is your deposit screen, which is going to tell you which bank account you want to deposit the money into. So I'm just going to hit OK here. And you can see I am moving it from undeposited funds, basically on my desk, to the bank account. And I can have as many bank accounts as I need in QuickBooks. You can see there's 4 different bank accounts sitting right here that I can put this $40 check into. But we'll say we're just putting it into our normal checking account. So when I hit Save and Close, okay, so if I would go back to my customer candies, and so if I go up here, this is on the menu bar, this shows you everything you can do with a customer, everything you can do with a vendor. Remember, customers pay you, you pay vendors. If you've got employees, all of this will be turned on. But if I go to customers and I go to Customer Center, that's one of the things I can do, is that I can look for that candies shop, Adams Candy Shop. That's right there it is. And it shows me that they do not owe anything right now, because here was the $40 payment that I just took, so there's no balance. But if I look at somebody else like Bob Crenshaw, I can see that yes, he owes me $1591.03, and I can see these are the 2 invoices that he needs to owe me. $1575 and $1603 total up that $1591.03. So let me go back to my home page. And then desktop, this is a really good feature. So this whole left center is we call this the icon bar, which is basically a way to maneuver around in QuickBooks. This icon bar, I really don't prefer it to be on the left-hand side like this. So I'm going to change that. I'm going to change it up here on the top under View. Instead of a left icon bar, I'm going to say I want a top icon bar. And that moves it up there. It just gives me some more real estate and just gives me some more room to maneuver around. I can even turn on another feature in QuickBooks that's really good. If I go to View, I can turn my open window list on. And so all these different screens that I pop up, like if I would click on Create an Invoice, that's like a screen that I'm going to, and you can kind of see that is a window that is open now called Create Invoice. If I say, well, I want to go back to the home page, I can either go up here on my second bar, or I could use my open window and click on that, and it rotates me right back to my home page. This is a big selling point of why I like QuickBooks Desktop over QuickBooks Online, because you cannot maneuver around in QuickBooks Online as easily as you can desktop. You can maneuver around some, but I'll show you in just a minute. So we've created an invoice, we've received the payment, and we've recorded the deposit. And when I say record deposit, what I mean by that is that we've recorded it into our bank register, and that's where you want it to end up. As I've told you earlier, this is what drives QuickBooks, your chart of accounts and your items and services. So let's go to our chart of accounts, and this is where you can see everything. I'm really giving you a fast introduction to QuickBooks because this class is only 45 minutes, but so I'm just trying to skim it real quick here. So here is my all my bank accounts, and so all of these bank accounts have registers. If I click on that check register right there, I should see that $40 check deposit, Let's see if I see it. I think it was dated. Yep, there it is, $40. And I can even open it right back up. It was from Adam's Candy Shop. So there's that $40 that ended up into my checking account, because that's where I want it to end up. You can see in this example here, there's a whole bunch of checks wrote out to people, and looks like some payroll checks and paying some vendors. Anybody you pay is either going to be a vendor or an employee. Those those would be the only two things that they would be called. Is if you're writing a check to somebody. Now this is a pretty complex example of a company that I'm looking at here. This is a sample company that's been built into QuickBooks, and so it's running it through this accounts payable system. So let's just run back to the home page. Okay. So it's the same way if I was going to write a check. So let's just say I want to write a check right here. If I click on write check, and let's say that I went to Lowe's, Lows, which is a place to get things to fix things. So right here it says Lowe's is not in the name list. So that means in QuickBooks it does not see that name yet. So I can either do setup, and the first thing it wants to know, do you want to set Lowe's up as a vendor or a customer? If it's somebody I'm paying, I want to set them up as a vendor. Okay, so if I did setup, I can get all kind of information on them. So basically all I wanted to really get was their name. So I could have done a quick add, just the same thing, because I just wanted to get the name. And so I went to Lowe's, and let's say I spent $25. Okay. And I went to Lowe's, and right now it thinks that I've wrote a check. I've physically wrote a physical check. If you had computer checks, you would click on print later, and it would put it in a queue so that you could go out to your queue and load your computer printed checks in and print a whole bunch of them at one time. But if you use, let's say, your debit card, as long as I've got this button right here unchecked, I can write anything I want to. And let's say I use my debit card, so I can write debit. Or maybe if you're paying your credit card bill, you would just write the word online right there. So I went to Lowe's, I spent $25. It's coming out of my main checking account, and it's a debit. And the last thing I got to do is assign whatever I'm buying at Lowe's. I've got to assign it to an expense account. When I did the drop down right here, it dropped me into my chart of accounts. This is my whole chart of accounts. You can see the bank accounts are listed first. Accounts receivable, assets, fixed assets, credit card accounts. I'm going to come all the way down here into my expenses. And if I went to Lowe's, I am probably fixing something. So I'm going to come all the way down into building repairs, equipment repairs, whatever account would fit this description. So I am just going to say building repairs. Okay. And you could even document, I had to buy some plumbing materials or something like that. So, so I'm going to hit save and close. Okay. And so let's go back and look at our register. I can get to it a couple ways. I can come right here in the banking section and click on check register. Or if I wanted to go back into the chart of accounts, I could get to it. But let's do it this way. Let's click on our check register. Okay. I can see all four of my bank accounts if I do a drop down, so I can look at whichever register I want to, and I hit OK. So I should see that $25 that I just spent. So let's just see if we see that. Yep, right there it is. There was the $40 that I put in, and here is the Lowe's payment that I classified as building repairs. Okay. So let's see if now all these other things, these are in this just in this sample company, so I don't want to get too crazy in looking at these. But before we even look at a P&L report, because that is basically what we are after. In fact, we will go ahead and look at that P&L report. Let me go to reports, and I'm going to come down to company and financial and profit and loss standard. This is your normal profit and loss report. Okay. So I think we had dated those things December the 15th. So that means that the money that I just made, that $40, is inside this 18,877. I'm not sure exactly what category it might have fallen into, but it is inside that. And the great thing about this P&L report, right now it's defaulting to this month to date. I'm going to change this and say this fiscal year to date. Again, this is a sample company, and so it's got some weird dates in it. But I'm going to say this is data from October through December the 15th. And so I'm looking at my income is $65,000. But I'm going to say show it to me by month. And then I can see in the month of October, in the month of November, in the month of December. So that $40 is inside one of these numbers right here. But I just wanted to show you what this P&L report is showing me. So my grand total for this whole period is $65,000. But since I've broken this down by month, I can see in the month of October, I took an income of $22,000. In November, I took income of $24,000. In December of $18,000. So that's why for the whole year, it's at $65,000. But the way you look at these reports is, so in the month of October, I took in $22,000 of income, but I had to spend $903 classified as cost of goods sold. Now, cost of goods sold is a little bit differently than expenses, but the important thing is they both get minused out of the income. So if I look at my income, $22,000 minus my $903, I'm down to $21,000. So it's taken that cost of goods sold directly out of my income right away. And so let's just keep going. So then I've got to take out all my expenses. And so when I look at all my expenses, all these different categories, these are all the things that are getting set up in your chart of accounts. So you can design your chart of accounts with the names that you want. Most people want them with names that match up with your tax return. So, and even when you start up QuickBooks, when you're starting a brand new company up, going through the process of getting your company up, it goes through a process where it asks you a lot of questions like, how is your business set up? Are you a sole proprietor? Are you an LLC? What type of things do you do? Do you provide services or do you sell products? And by those answers, and by you telling it what industry you're in, it gets you a chart of accounts and gets you started off. So that is very user-friendly in helping you get started. But so this is the chart of accounts from the answers that when they started up this Larry's Landscaping and Garden Supply, this is the chart of accounts that it created for them. So let's come down here and see what my total expenses were. So my total expenses are $15,000. Remember, after I took out my cost of goods sold, let's go back up here. After I took it from 22, took out my 9, I'm left with 21. Now I've got to take out my $15,000 worth of expenses. So I come on down to my $15,000 worth of expenses. It says in the month of October, you're $5,790 to the good. So you've made money in the month of October. In the month of November, you made $7,000. In the month of December, you made $416. For the year, you are up $14,000. So you are looking good. You're making a profit every single month. You could break this down by week if you wanted to, or you could, if you've got a year's worth of data in your QuickBooks, you could break it down by years and you can see exactly what your income was for 2018, 2019, 2020, and the bottom number. Did I make money those years or did I lose money? This down here at the very bottom, these are little strange things like miscellaneous income and interest income. If your bank pays you a penny or two of interest, that's where those would show up. That is not really considered business income, but it is money that comes into the account. So usually down at the bottom of a P&L report, there will be an account, a type called other income, and there'll be a type called other expense. So it's not, there's usually not much money down there, but that falls down there. So that is showing how this business is doing for this year to date. So let me jump back over to my home page. Again, these things are running on the left-hand side. I can either click home there or I can click home here, and that takes me back to my home page. This is a great thing, especially if you're new using QuickBooks, is that I always have this flow chart that I can go back to, and you can get your bearings straight. So I just want to tell you a little bit about this flow chart. So basically, we create invoices and we receive payments. If people are not paying you their invoices, then you might want to send them a statement. A statement would list all the invoices that are outstanding, all the invoices that you're waiting to get paid for. And even you could pop even finance charges on there and say, I'm going to charge you a little bit of interest as longer you take to pay me. And then that would just go on to the customer, showing that they owe more money. So this whole second bar is to speed things up. I can always go to the menu bar and it shows me everything I can do with the customer. But if I go to the second bar and click on customer, it takes me straight to my customer center. If I click on vendors right here, it takes me straight to my vendor center, all the people that I pay. And so let's just see here some of the vendors that are out here. So you can get all this spacing spaced out. Okay, so according to this, I owe California Telephone $45. So if I click on California Telephone, okay, they don't have something turned on that I like to turn on QuickBooks. I would come over here and where the amount is, I'm going to right click and I'm going to click Customize Columns, and I'm going to choose Open Balance, and I'm going to click Add, and it's going to put a whole nother column over here. So when I hit Add and I hit OK, now I can see instantly which bill has not been paid. Before, I was just seeing these numbers, and I don't know which one was making up the $45 that was showing that I owed to them. So right now I can see this bill right here has not been paid, a $45 bill. That bill has to do with accounts payable. If you enter a bill into QuickBooks, you're increasing your accounts payable. If you enter an invoice in QuickBooks, you're increasing your accounts receivable. But then when they pay you, your accounts receivable is going down. That's what this chart of accounts is showing you. When I look at my chart of accounts here, when I look at my accounts payable, it says you owe people $2,578.69. When I look at my accounts receivable, those are people that owe me, and it says there's $35,000 worth of business that you're waiting to get paid for. So all of this stuff is, these things right here are registers. Everything from equity up is registers. From income down, let me show you on the chart of accounts. You'll see that you don't see the figures here. Here's all your different income accounts that were set up on your chart of accounts. Here's that cost of goods sold account that was set up on when we ran that P&L report. So, and then here are all my expense accounts. Okay, just the way I designed my chart of accounts is how that P&L is going to show up. So, but these things up top they show up on a different financial report, which is called a balance sheet report. So if I would go to reports, company and financial, I can run a profit and loss report, or I can run a balance sheet report. Okay, so if I run a balance sheet report, this shows me where all those different accounts stand at a certain point in time. As of December the 15th, you have this much money in your bank accounts. This much money is on your accounts receivable. They're bills that are out in QuickBooks that you need to pay. If I look for accounts payable, that's down here under a liability. This is showing that I have accounts payable that I need to pay. Okay, and if QuickBooks always, this is a lot of stuff that you really don't have to look that closely at. And this account is very complex because this is a sample company that people could try to do all kinds of things in, but always your assets equal your liability and equity. These two numbers stay in balance all the time. And if you're using QuickBooks correctly, those two numbers stay in balance. So usually if somebody contacts me with a problem, the first thing I do is maybe look at their balance sheet and make sure their balance sheet is in balance. Their assets equal their liability and their equity. So if those two numbers are in balance. All right, so let's just jump back over to the home page. So there is just a ton of information that you can see inside of QuickBooks. When I go to reports and I go to customers and receivables, I can see all the people that owe me money. I can look at my AR report, my accounts receivable report, and I can see every single person and exactly how much money they owe me. So like if I look at Ecker Design, it says there's $3170.96 that is falling in the current range. It will say, is it 1 to 30 days late? Is it 31 to 60 days late? Is it greater than 90 days late? But even on this $3170.96, if I just double click on it, I can open it up and I can see the two invoices that are saying why they owe $3170.96. Ecker Design, they have these two invoices open. If I go to customers and I look at Ecker Design, there's Ecker Design, $3170.96. If I choose it, now that I've turned this open balance on, I can see exactly which two invoices, this one and this one, owes me money. On this one right here, they have paid $1,000. You can see this payment right here, $1,000. So there was an invoice for $4,000 at one point for a whole bunch of work. And they have applied a payment of $1,000, so that's why they still owe $3,047 on this invoice right here. So this won't show paid until it is completely paid. If I open up another invoice, let's see this one right here. So here's a $1,900 invoice, and I can see that the payment was right there. So this one, when I open this one up, it's going to say closed on it, paid. It shows paid and the date it was paid. Okay. So with QuickBooks, the great thing is if you would use Intuit Payments, which basically means if you would turn a merchant account on inside of QuickBooks, you could email these people these invoices with a view and pay invoice link at the bottom that would take the money, ACH wire the money in from their bank account into your bank account, but it does cost you $3 a pop. But no credit cards. We're talking about ACH wiring money. So you got to have clients that are willing to pay the full thing in full or pay it in full, not put it on a credit card, because a credit card, they're going to charge you a 3.25 rate. So when you turn payments methods on here, let me see. I can say that is the only way I want you to pay me, is I want to take in bank transfers, which basically means it's going to cost me $3 to collect their money. But it works beautifully. It comes in, it hooks it to this invoice, it goes to undeposited funds for a little bit, and then it even records it on into your register. It all gets automated. And so that is a wonderful thing. Now, if you give them the credit card option, that's where you're going to be assuming a lot of credit card fees. And so I tell people, go back, if they insist, yes, I've got to use a credit card, I go back to their invoice and pop a credit card fee, let them pay the 3.25 of ever how much that invoice is. With this ACH transfer, it doesn't matter if they're paying you $100 or $10,000. It's only going to cost $3 a pop. So that is a great way to work. Okay. All right. So let me hit cancel on this. Let me go back to the home page anytime you're lost. So a while ago when we were talking about entering the bills and paying the bills, this is what you would do. If I wanted to, when the bill comes into me, I maybe want to enter the bill in and say, well, I got my AT&T bill today. So you say AT&T and tab over. It says, I do not see AT&T in your vendor list. So I'm just going to say, well, let's do a quick add. okay? And so the bill, let's say the bill came on December the 15th, okay? And let's say the bill was $150, okay? Now it's defaulting to 10 days later saying that it's due, but I'm looking at my AT&T bill and I'm gonna put the due date that they tell me. So they say, well, you've got to pay it by, let's see, it came in on the 15th, you've got to pay it by the 30th. So you got the 12/30 to pay it. But the last thing I would want to do on this bill here is assign it to an account, which basically means sign it to an account on my chart of accounts. So if I get into that spot and hit my drop down, I'm looking at my chart of accounts again. Again, this is my whole chart of accounts, all the way from banking all the way down. And I'm just looking for where do I want to put this AT&T bill. So I usually like to put AT&T under computer and internet expenses. And I notice here they don't even have that set up in their chart of accounts. So let me show you how easy that is. You don't want to get crazy on setting up your chart of accounts, but this is a valid category on your tax return. Computer and internet expense. I tab over. I had a question. $3 is $3 per transaction. Yes, it is $3. Computer and internet expense. So I'm going to say, let's set this up. Okay. And so here is where on your chart of accounts, there's like 16 different types of accounts on your chart of accounts. And so all 16 accounts are listed right here. You got some income accounts, some expense accounts, some bank accounts, some liability accounts, some other income, some other expense down here. There's 16 different possible things. But right now I'm wanting to set up an expense account. And it even gives me an example of some expense accounts. So I am going to hit continue. Okay. Very descriptive. It's setting it up as an expense account, computer and internet expense. So I'm going to hit save and close. And so now my bill is completely set up. So I'm going to hit save and close. So that makes my accounts payable go up. If I go back to my chart of accounts and I look here at my accounts payable, that number went up by $150. I'm not going to try to find it because I probably won't be able to find it, but it's in there. I'm tempted to try it, but I'm not. So let's go back to the home page. So that bill has been put in, so I want to pay it when I'm ready to pay it. I want to pay it out of my accounts payable. So when I click on pay bills, I see all the bills that are sitting in accounts payable. And right there we see that AT&T bill. And so if I was wanting to pay it, I would just choose it. They said you've got to pay it by 12/30. I'm going to come down here and I'm going to pay it maybe even a couple days in advance. So I'm going to do on 12/23. Am I going to pay it by check or am I going to put it on one of my credit cards? Let's say I'm going to put it on my credit card. Okay. So then it wants to know, well, which credit card? And so I've got several credit cards set up in my QuickBooks. And so I would choose that. So let's go back and say, I want to pay it by check. All right. If you're going to pay it by check, are you going to want it to go in the print queue so you can put computer checks in and print it? That would be called to be printed. Make it go into the print queue. Or are you old school and you haven't bought computer checks and so you're going to handwrite the check? So I'm going to choose assign check number. And then I can choose which bank account I want. Here's my 4 bank accounts. I can choose which one I want it to come out of. So I'm going to hit pay selected bills. And so here's my chance to put whatever check number I wrote. Or let's say maybe I paid it online. I can write anything I want to right there. I can say online. I can say they drafted it. I can say I used my debit card. Or I can put the actual where I wrote the check number, 6980. Okay. But when I hit OK, it's going to get recorded into my register. So I can go back and pay more bills, or I can say done. Okay. And so I'm going to go back and look at my register one more time. Okay. And so we should see where I paid AT&T. I wrote them a check for $150, and you'll see my register is coming down. So To do QuickBooks, you've got to reconcile all of your accounts, all your bank accounts, all your credit cards. We don't have time to get into that today. So, but you know, I think the whole idea of this Take Lessons TV was just to give you some exposure of what it's like to work with a Take Lessons teacher. And, you know, if you schedule some time, then we would get into as deep as you want to get. I can remote access into your computer. We can use the Take Lessons classroom, and we can work just like this using Zoom, and so we can see each other's companies. But I do want to tell you a little bit about QuickBooks Online. So just like what we've been working here on, and I find teaching desktop is a lot easier than teaching online. So let me jump back over into online and let me see if I can log me out here. Let me see if I can. Oh, I'll tell you what I want to do is I want to go to, there is if I Google, and you can do this also, if I do QuickBooks Online Test Drive, it lets me see what QuickBooks Online looks like. They like to sell the QuickBooks Online because it is a subscription model. When you buy that, you're paying a monthly subscription. They have different levels, and so you might be at and they'll sell it to you cheap for 3 months, but you might be at the 25 level or the 40 level or the 75 or the 150 a month fee. With QuickBooks Desktop, you can buy it one time for $179.99 from this website called softwarediscountcenter.com. softwarediscountcenter.com, and it's yours for 3 years, no monthly fees. Now, if you need payroll, you need to get a different product, so maybe you need to contact me, and I'll tell you real quick, it's on Amazon.com. If you get a combo where you basically get the QuickBooks Pro 2020, Pro usually works for most all companies, with enhanced payroll, that gets you your 3-year license of Pro plus your 1-year license of payroll. And then every year you would need to go buy you another combo package. So to keep you in check with that. So let me hit continue real quick. I'm not a robot. Come on. Continue. This is what will give you a chance to check out and see what QuickBooks Online is like. And so this is the home page of QuickBooks Online, and you'll find that when you click this button that says new, it does the very same things that we were doing earlier. I might want to create an invoice, and then after I've created an invoice, I want to receive payment. So where is that at? Receive payment. Yep, right there. If I create an invoice and receive the payment, and then the next thing I want to do is record deposit or do a bank deposit. So it's kind of like in QuickBooks Online, you've got to know the steps. I find that's not quite as easy because you do not have the flow chart like you do. But it's basically the same thing, and you're going to have to reconcile over here. You click on this little gear over here, and then you can click reconcile. Here's a tool where you want to reconcile all your bank accounts. I know this has been a crash course in QuickBooks. Please, I can't say really contact me directly, but you can contact me through Take Lessons. And I just wanted to jump back over here to QuickBooks Desktop again. I feel comfortable about this, and so basically, I believe that's it. I thought that is a crash course. Does anybody maybe have any questions they would like to ask real quick? You could pop the questions in like the little chat area. I should be able to see those. In the meantime, I will just try and think if there's something else that I would want to show here. There's a lot of things that can even speed things up in QuickBooks even more. If I go to my check register and here is my main checking account, since I'm looking at my main checking account a lot, I'm going to hit OK. Here is my main checking account. I can go to view, and I can add that to my icon bar, which is basically this bar right here. So if I add checking to my icon bar, I choose an icon that looks like a check. I hit OK. It's went on this bar, but it's way at the end. So I've got to go to view and then customize my icon bar. And then I can drag it up and I can drop it to where I can see it. I put it right there, but I would probably be putting it a little bit further over to the right, but you can really set that up. And so this second bar is just to help you maneuver around. So we got a question. If I'm tracking my own expenditures and I use a credit card for purchases and do not pay it off in full, how do I record that expense? So it's very simple. So if you go back to your home page, on your home page, there's a spot where you can enter your credit card charges. So every time you enter a charge in, let me do it real quick here. If I go to Walmart, okay, and Walmart's not in here. Let's go to Lowe's again. Lowe's, let's say I spend $25, okay, and I'm putting it on this credit card right here called Cal Oil Card. And you'll notice Lowe's, it remembers that it's building repairs, but I could change that to whatever I want to. Okay, so it went on my credit card. So if I go to my chart of accounts and I look for my credit card, here's my chart of accounts, and I'm going to find my credit card. Here's my credit cards, and I find that one that said Cal Oil Card. So what I just put on there is there. That $25 is right there. And it's just like the way these people are doing it in this example is when you pay that credit card, you just point it to the credit card. And so just like they made a payment of $177.25 right here, you'll notice that $177.25 brings your balance down. And so you need to reconcile your credit cards just like you reconcile your bank account every month. So let's see if in this sample company, I bet they're not reconciling. I can tell by there's no check marks. It's kind of like you reconcile it just like you would do your normal checking account. But that is exactly how you would do a credit card. If I'm tracking my own expenditures and I use a credit card. Now, if that means if your own expenditures, if that means personal stuff, then you don't classify it as an expense account. You would classify it as an equity account. If you accidentally used your business credit card for something that should have been personal, when you're writing that check to Lowe's or when you're recording that check to Lowe's, you would choose an equity account. If I go to my chart of accounts, an equity account called Owner's Draw. This would be the account that you would want to use. All right, how often should you update QuickBooks? So in QuickBooks Desktop, you're good for 3 years. So right now, if you buy 2020, you do not have to buy it again until 2023. This is assuming that you're not needing payroll. In payroll, it's a 1-year license, but QuickBooks Desktop is a 3-year license. And so you would not, May the 31st of 2023, some of the features in QuickBooks Desktop would quit working. I think we're at 1:45, and I believe there's some more classes behind me. So I think we're going to close it for now. I hope this was beneficial. Please look me up on Take Lessons. If you Google QuickBooks, I'm the teacher, one of the teachers that are listed there, and I'll be glad to help you. So I think we're going to close this class out unless somebody wants to try to sneak in another question. We better close it out. Thank you. That was very helpful. Thank you. We'll talk to you again. Bye-bye.